Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are all doing well. So in this video, I'm going to go through and give you my opinion on the 11 that I think could turn Manchester United's season around. Now, we've seen so far this season, Manchester United have had injury after injury in all sorts of different positions. For example, in defence, we've had over 10 different defensive pairings from Varane and Lisandro Martinez, which is the manager's preferred pairing, but we haven't seen that enough. We've even seen the likes of Maguire and Luke Shaw at the back, to Evans and Willy Kambwala at the back. It's been a whole array of different centre-back pairings for Manchester United. The midfield has seen similar fortunes as well, with injuries to Kobbie Mainoo, Casemiro, Amrabat, Mason Mount, Christian Eriksen at various different points in time as well. And we've seen the attack misfiring, maybe because the midfield behind it isn't settled and the defence behind it isn't settled either. We know Marcus Rashford loves creating those patterns of play with the likes of Luke Shaw, who has been injured this season. But you look at that and you see, we've just not been able to play a consistent 11 throughout this campaign. And if the manager can do that between now and the end of the season, I think we'll see our fortunes turn around, because we do have some very, very talented players. We just haven't been seeing it on the pitch, and we're getting some of those players back as well. Luke Shaw's scheduled to be returning very, very soon. He's on the Physio Room website. It says he'll be back by the 28th of January. The same date has been given for Mason Mount's return as well. So we could see these guys returning to the team very, very soon. We know Andre Onana is away, and Amrabat are away on the African Cup of Nations duty at the moment as well. But for the sake of this video, I will put Andre Onana in between the sticks for this. But before we go into my full 11, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, you're liking, commenting, sharing, etc. Keep it locked to the channel as well. We'll be having much more consistent uploads coming to you from me, so make sure you're keeping it locked for that. So as I said, I will be keeping Andre Onana in this team. Now, obviously, he hasn't enjoyed the best start to his life at Manchester United. Up until, I think, like December, he did have the most clean sheets in the Premier League, and he'd made the most saves and all those kind of things. But the stats kind of told one story, and what you saw with your eyes told a different story. We've seen that he's not really been playing the way we brought him into play, which was with the ball at his feet. Maybe having those different amount of pairings at centre half and the lack of a midfield, etc., that will dominate possession of the ball and come and ask for the ball as well. We've been playing with McTominay in there a lot, and one of the things that he doesn't do is come and demand the ball. We've been missing the likes of Christian Eriksen, Casemiro, Kobbie Mainoo's just returned, etc. So we've been missing players that look to get on the ball from that midfield, and then that affects the options that the goalkeeper has. Luke Shaw's been missing, etc. I'm not making excuses for him, but what I'm saying is the lack of partnerships and the lack of a consistent defensive role of him may have affected Andre Onana's performances, but also he needs to take some responsibility himself as well. And between now and the end of the season, he needs to fix up, and I believe the manager will give him an opportunity to do that, and I believe that's the right thing to do. We've also heard, though, when you look at the likes of Omar Barada and Dave Brailsford and everything, we've heard reports that these guys are looking to be giving people 1 to 2 years to prove themselves at the club. If they don't prove themselves, then they'll be out of the team. So, he's got to buck up his ideas and he's got to start putting in some performances, but I would keep him there. At left back, you have to be picking Luke Shaw. Now, Tyrell Malacia's edging closer to a return as well, which is great news for Manchester United, because when we lost Luke Shaw, we also lost him, and that was a nightmare. So bringing him in will be fantastic to give that competition to Luke Shaw and the rest of the guys. We've been using Wan-Bissaka at left back in recent weeks as well, which wasn't ideal, but getting Luke Shaw back into the team is important. His distribution from that position, his link-up play with the rest, getting forward as well, creating an option for Andre Onana when he has the ball at his feet, I think is vitally important, and getting a fit Luke Shaw back into the team will be massive for Manchester United. We got to see a glimpse of Lisandro Martinez returning as well. I want to see him at the heart of Manchester United's defence more often than not, because he is one of those guys that makes us tick. Without him and Casemiro last season, we don't go on and do what we did, and Lisandro Martinez was a key component in that. It was gutting to see him get that injury, but fingers crossed he'll be back for good and be pulling out some big performances, because him, alongside the man that I've picked beside him in Raphael Varane, are so important to us. If we can get them playing They're one of the best defensive pairings in the Premier League. If we can get them playing consistently together, we saw that last season. Varane's been in and out of the team this season because of injury, fitness, whatever. But there's also been periods of time where he's been sat on the bench. Now his future has come into question at Manchester United, but he won't be leaving this window. If he's going to be the last 6 months of Raphael Varane, we need to be getting the best out of him and getting him there more often than not alongside Lisandro Martinez, because we've been knocked out of almost every competition. No League Cup, no European football. We're not going to be having many weeks where we've got 3 games, Sunday, midweek, and then a Saturday. There's not going to be many of those occurrences for us. So we're going to have hopefully an opportunity to kind of get these guys wrapped in cotton wool between the games and get them playing more regularly. On the right-hand side, we've got real competition there between Diogo Dalot and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I like both of them, but I do think Diogo Dalot has probably edged it so far this season, so I'll go with Diogo Dalot. But there'll be some games where you look at the left winger and you go, actually, let's bring in Aaron Wan-Bissaka for this one. In front of them, I've got Casemiro in there. Now, his form before he did get injured wasn't great, but he was scoring a lot of goals for Manchester United. He also would be magnificent, I think, alongside Kobbie Mainoo. Now, it'd be interesting to see who plays the 6, who plays the 8. You're maybe going to get Casemiro playing deeper and letting Kobbie Mainoo go a little bit further afield. But there'll be times where they can swap those roles as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that one would play out. In pre-season, that was the kind of partnership that Erik ten Hag was looking to build upon. He hasn't been able to do it this season because of injuries to both. Kobbie Mainoo started the season injured. Then when Mainoo returned, Casemiro was injured. Hopefully we get to see those two together in that midfield with Bruno Fernandes ahead of them. That midfield three, Casemiro, Kobbie Mainoo, Bruno Fernandes. I hope it would mean as well Bruno Fernandes won't start coming deep all the time, because we've seen when we pick Scott McTominay a lot of times, he plays in Kobbie Mainoo's, in Bruno's position. So Bruno Fernandes ends up dropping deep and looking to pick the ball up off the centre-backs. We don't want to be seeing that. We want Bruno to be playing in the final third, the attacking half of the pitch. We want him to be playing in between the lines and worrying teams' defenders and midfielders, not having to drop deep and pick up the ball off our centre-backs. So getting Bruno in front of them and getting him played in his best position is key. On the left, Marcus Rashford, 30 goals for him last season. It was great to see him get a goal and an assist, half an assist for Rasmus Højlund in that game against Spurs. Look, it was disappointing we didn't win that game. It was great to see Rashford score. He hasn't played a great season so far this campaign, but he's got 5 months to rescue it, turn it around, get himself in that England team for the Euros as well, which I'm sure is something that he wants to do. But we've seen, prior to this season, 4 of the last 5 campaigns, over 20 goals. Last season, he scores over 30 goals and enjoys his best campaign. Marcus Rashford is one of our best players. Getting him playing well, getting him, firing is important, and getting him on that left-hand side as well. Rasmus Højlund through the middle. Again, great to see him score that fantastic finish and get an assist against Spurs. Good to see him getting goals for Manchester United now in the Premier League to add to his Champions League goals. I like Rasmus Højlund, but he still has a lot to improve on. Nevertheless, we need to see him played more often. I do think he could help. We're being linked with a few senior strikers and being linked with a few players. I do think he needs a little bit of help in that sense. And, having, Martial, who, all right, we need to replace Martial, but having him injured is an issue because we haven't got an alternative. But Rasmus Højlund, play him week in, week out, and let's see what we can do, because I think we got some player there. I know he's coming for some criticism, and due to the fact that he went for a long time without goals in the league, but I do think we've got a player there. Get him playing there. Now on the right hand side, more often than not, I think we're going to go with Garnacho. It's good to see us experiment with him on the left and on the right, and keeping Rashford on the left is important. Playing Garnacho on the right has seemed to work a few times. So I want to see more of Garnacho. You look at the catalogue of goals he scores for Manchester United, the different kind of goals. He seems to be a constant threat as well. But I also don't mind the option and the idea of using Mason Mount there and then having Alejandro Garnacho. Mason Mount, as I said, returning hopefully in that FA Cup game, but should be back at the end of January. I don't mind using Mason Mount there either and having him play on that right-hand side. Now, obviously, he's been bought for a more central position, but I do think that's a role that Mason Mount could fulfill for the team. And I know a lot of people have kind of written Mason Mount off at Manchester United and kind of ridiculed the signing of him. Now, look, he's been injured for a lot of time. We spent 60 million on him. We could have got him in the summer for free. I get why you'd kind of laugh at that. because it doesn't look good for Manchester United when he goes down injured. But we couldn't have predicted that. But he is a player. You know, he's a very good player, and I still think he could do something at Manchester United. So I wouldn't mind occasionally, you know, you want to bring Alejandro Garnacho in and out of the team as a young lad. I wouldn't mind occasionally seeing Mason Mount being used in that position. Getting these injured players back fit for Manchester United is vitally important, though, and we are beginning to see that now. So absolutely fantastic stuff. Let us know what you think. What's the 11 you would pick? Because I'm sure a lot of you don't agree with me on this one. So let us know your thoughts on the 11 that you think could turn Manchester United season around. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, liking, commenting, sharing as well. And if you're in New York on the weekend, I'm going to be hopefully linking up with the New York Reds. Is it the Smithfield where they watch the game? So yeah, hopefully be checking out the FA Cup game in New York this weekend there. So if you're about, come say hello. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. See you in a bit.